Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hello, happy Monday. We got the full squad here with smile. Well, Jamal doesn't have a smile on his face, so Jamal's not happy anymore. There it is.
Don't hurt yourself.
You just caught me mid masala chai. That's all. That's all.
It's the Bet Online Salute to Troy podcast. We'll go around the horn and say hello to everyone. We'll start with the person everybody's been asking for. Ladies and gentlemen, she's back. She is officially the queen of LAFB. You guys been asking for her. You asking where has she been? She's been in the middle of a playoff run. She's trying to win a state championship, but she made time for us tonight. It is the world class 7-time, which I got corrected earlier today, 7-time NCAA All-American Candice Davis Price. How are you doing this evening?
I'm going to take you everywhere with me. That's fantastic. I'm doing great this evening. We're in the middle of a playoff run. Coming off a great win. Today, the guys are still feeling a little bit of a victory Saturday, so we got on them a bit. You know how that goes.
What does that feel like? We haven't had one of those in over a month. What does that feel like?
It was interesting because the two QBs, one is CJ Carr, who is Lloyd Carr's grandson, who's big deal, big Notre Dame recruit, and there was ours who was yet to decide. And there was all this hype. Oh, Carr is going to throw for more yards. Carr is going to have better numbers. I mean, tons of press on it. And today there was a video released of that saying it, and then they switched to the 280 plus yards that Bryce Underwood had over Mr. Carr. So
what was the final score?
65-14, and our starters came out about the halfway through the third half.
All right, be real. I know you always keep it 100. Is there any team that could even compete with you guys? Or are you guys just going to roll through this thing? Would you have to beat yourselves?
I think the one team I thought might have been like a Cass Tech or a Catholic Central, which would have been like a modern day type school, a Long Beach Poly. They've all beat themselves out. So this weekend we will play who we beat in the conference championships because the underdog took down a team and we beat them 65-0. So we play them again.
Wow.
So you're winning this.
Yeah. They call them the villains because we're from Belleville. The villains. Belleville football. I'll get you guys a sweatshirt. Matter of fact, I'm gonna get you guys some of those.
Please do.
Yes. All right, so I'm doing great. Playoff one. We got two more games, and the state championship is played at Ford Field.
There we go. We'll go to the mad scientist himself on a Monday. Jamal Madman Magby, how are you doing today?
How you doing, Coach? When you were introducing Candace, I was ready to kind of bust out a lyric. Shady's back again. Shady's back. Tell a friend. But excited to be here today. It's remarkable. This is like our third show since the Washington game. So, it's that Washington game feels like a month ago already, but excited to be in the conversation as always with you guys.
Jamal, I have to say real quick, the hair flow is looking good.
Oh, I appreciate that. There's no hat good today. I'm letting the hair grow out a bit. So
looks good.
We're, I always get a little nervous when I wear hats too much. I'm like, I got to let the hair breathe a little bit. So,
You end up like me.
No, that's because you're overwhelmed, right?
Thanks for all the under jabs. It always comes back to my hairline, I guess, somehow. Why are you going to ask me, Fred, anyway? I'll just say it. I'm good.
You're never alone. You're never alone.
Oh, that's funny.
I wear the hat. I wear the hat to pay the bills. So there you go.
There you go.
You're never
Company
alone.
man.
Yep, there you go. Ryan, how are you doing?
But I am good, thank you. Happy Monday, all. Happy to be on again. Yeah, third time in 24 hours, I think, that we've been doing this with all the victory or not non-victory live show, and then our breaking Alex Grinch live show, and then now we'll do a more recorded, not much of a recap, but we'll chat some and look more to the future. So, but excited to be here.
There we go. So I'm going to kick it right.
Now, Coach? How are you?
Oh,
Coach. How are you? You're the giver. You're never the receiver.
Yeah.
So how's the coach doing?
I don't think people care how I am because I read the comments. They were truly upset with me because I was celebrating SC. They thought I was rude but I'm doing great. We just announced. Well, she's 21 weeks, but we just announced to everybody that we're expecting another child. So we have another baby on the way.
Congratulations.
Wow. Congrats.
Yep, we're getting ready for a birthday party, like I said earlier. But other than that, just getting ready to start another project at work. I'm just living life and enjoying it. This week is not going to be great for me. It is what it is. It's sibling rivalry. We play Oregon. So, the only thing we have in our positive is that it's on Pac-12 After Dark, and a lot of freaky things happen on Pac-12 After Dark. But other than that, I'm great. Work is great. Life is great. I get to talk ball 3 times a week. I have absolutely no complaints. I'm living in California where it's 50 in the morning and 75 in the evening. So I'm just moving forward.
I'm living in Michigan where gas is $3.18 in the morning and sometimes $3.05 in the evening. Just had it.
And the most important thing is I get to hang out with my 3 favorite people, right? So there we go. We get to move on. Before we get deep into this thing, our man Ryan rushed back from you were at the Coliseum, or you were on campus?
On campus, Howard Jones. So
our man
typically
Ryan rushed back from Howard Jones, and there was an emergency press conference today, or a last minute press conference. And we're going to go to Ryan. And look, I got the new green screen, guys. I look way better. We're going to hit the Stone Brewery Fried on Pale emergency press conference report. So, Ryan, tell us what went down today.
Nice. Yeah. Typically, as everyone knows, media availability is Tuesday and Wednesdays. Usually on Tuesdays, Coach Riley and Coach Grinch are available, and they do defensive players.
Not this Tuesday.
Not this Tuesday, obviously with the news. So it was still a closed practice today, but they just when practice ended at 4, Riley addressed the media for the first time, probably just wanted to get out ahead of it, which is good. Spoke to me about 15 minutes, took quite a few questions. Obviously more media than usual at practice, a lot of TV networks there, a lot of microphones that aren't usually there. So the scrum was big. I was able to actually get a good spot though, got a good video. So I have the full presser up on our USC LAFB YouTube channel or on LAFBnetwork.com for anyone that wants to hear it. But I don't think anything groundbreaking. Go listen to it if you want to hear it. But I think it was, he said, and we just have to take his word for it. It was his decision. No higher ups forced him to do it. It was his move to make this move now. He said he made this move now instead of waiting because he still believes, and whether this is what we believe or not, but he still believes there's a lot to play for. He said if the season was completely lost and there wasn't a lot, that he probably would have just waited till the end of the year. But with these 2 big conference games, and they still sit, I think, tied for second to 4th in the conference, there is enough to play for to see if they can shake things up. Obviously, it was a very hard decision. Is very close with the Grinch family. His kids go to school together, babysitting. You could tell it weighed on him, but ultimately it's your job as the head coach. It falls on you. You got to make the decision. So I think other than that, he was very excited about being able to see Taylor Mays get promoted to assistant and see what he can do. I'm going to ask him something about that on Thursday. So I'm excited. In the bullpen, it's just so hard to get a question because you have 20 people immediately yelling. So Thursday we get one-on-one. So I'll ask him about that, but he was excited about that. And obviously Coach Nua and Coach Odom will be taking over defensive duties for these next 2 weeks. So, pretty standard stuff, but got out in front of it and said it was his call. And, the last thing he ended it with, and, you would hope he would say this, but says there's no reason in the world why USC can't be a top defensive school. And he wants to make sure he makes that happen. So we'll see.
Thank you for reporting that.
You are welcome.
I'm speechless.
You delivered it a lot better than I would have received it if I was there. So I appreciate how you delivered.
No kidding.
Jamal, you see me in the pressers.
Oh yeah. Oh my God. You are a show in the pressers. I mean, I'll never forget that Dion presser. You sat there, legs crossed in the center. You got 8 questions were asked to Dion that day. LAFB got 3 of them because you got 2. And then I was like, well, I'm so empowered by Candace. I want to jump in there. They were giving us the stink eye. 37.5% of the questions went to non-CU people. It was unbelievable. Yep.
Yeah. Well, thank you for reporting that, honestly.
Candace, how do you feel about that report?
I'm glad it came from Ryan, from the source, a trusted, reliable, credited source. I do believe I do have a bit of a tussle with whose call it was. I'm sure there was definitely some influence from the higher up. Maybe he had that face-to-face conversation, because I do think he's a noble man. So having a relationship with him outside of football and seeing how Riley is, I'm sure it wasn't too aggressive. I'm sure he was, he had some friendship moments, and I'm sure they had conversations prior to this, so it wasn't a surprise. I do like to hear his optimism. I'm just not bought in all the way to Riley, so it's really difficult for me to really believe everything. And not saying that he's a liar, saying that I do believe his intentions are positive. I do believe he wants the best for these athletes, and I ultimately believe he wants to win for SC. So,
Jamal, how do you feel?
I'm very politically correct with that.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. Rye, I had a chance to watch it. You're recording, so please, everyone, check that out. I think it's worth the watch. I think 12 and a half minutes or something. So, I think Ryan said it best. He was visibly sort of, you could tell there was sort of an emotion there on having to do it. Alex Grinch was his friend, and he kind of said, it sucks, but I had to do what was best for the program. I do think it was very interesting how he thought through the decision of waiting to the end of the year versus doing it now, because at the end of the day, I mean, as ridiculous as this sounds, given what this team has been the last month, having lost 3 of 4 and having a 1-point win against Cal sandwich in between, if they somehow pull off this upset against Oregon, they're kind of tied for second in the conference. I mean, so there's a mathematical chance that they can still get to the Pac-12 championship game. So I think he wants to try and galvanize this season as much as he possibly can. And I think that was the right decision to do so. I will say one thing that was interesting is he is kind of the master of spin. He sort of spins a lot of things. And this is something I've sort of noticed now for a little while. He said, I want to thank Alex Grinch for, helping me make the greatest turnaround in program history, going from 4 wins to 11 wins. At the end of the day, this season, everyone forgets we're 2 plays away from being undefeated in the conference, but on the flip side, they're 2 plays away from losing 4 games in the conference, so he's this master of spin. And who had this actually across town was Rick Neuheisel many years ago. There's some folks that just sort of know how to spin things as salespeople, and Lincoln is starting to turn into that sort of master of spin kind of guy is my one takeaway.
Candice, you remember what you asked me at the beginning of the show? You remember you asked me a question at the very beginning after I asked Ryan how he was doing? You remember what you asked me?
Yes.
What did you remember you said?
When I said,
how are you doing? I'm fucking pissed.
What happened?
Fucking pissed because he's a fucking liar. And he just thinks people are stupid, and everybody's gonna go run and report this, and Jamal's gonna hold me to a standard to be an honest media person on the LAFB staff. And me being on the LAFB staff and being an honest media person, he sat in front of those people and fucking lied and fed them a whole bunch of candy and hoped they took it. You're a liar, bro.
He's in La La Land. It's only right? That's why I was saying, Ryan, you poetically, how you deliver the news, I'd much rather have it from you, because I just said it so much better.
He's a liar. Like, it wasn't your decision. If it was up to him, I'd be like, I told you guys he's coming back for another year. Like, he's a liar. So it wasn't your decision. Because if it was your decision, we would have had a new DC this year. Like, come on, man. Like, the
fact that it was your decision and you allowed him to stay this much longer is even more concerning.
That's also another thing. But and then you start talking about like, oh, we still have the ability to be a very good defensive football team. Stop feeding us bullshit, man. Just tell the truth. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I will respect you more if you told me the truth. Well, just say we're not good right now. We have to do better recruiting to become a good defensive football program. Do we have the ability? Yes. Do we have the resources? Yes. Should we be where we are? No. Are we one of the best universities in the world? 100%. I'll take all that. But don't sit up here and say, oh, we still have a bunch to play for. No, you don't. We know the reality of what's going to happen this weekend. Like, come on, man. No, you don't. Like, you're playing for dignity at this point. You know what I mean? You're playing for pride at this point. And you get in. Oh, man. You have one of the biggest press conferences in your life. And you just sit up there and lie and lie and lie. Like, now I'm calling for Lincoln's head. I'm on the Candace train. Like, because it's just like, man, come on. Don't do this. We're not, okay, here's the deal. We're not Oklahoma, right? Like, we're not going to sit up here and just be all die hard Sooner. Like, it's Sooner this, Sooner that, no matter what, I'm going to be Sooner. This is what you have to understand about the city of LA. Miami and Los Angeles have very, very, very finicky fans. And if things go bad, there's something else for me to do. I could go hit a beach. I go to Dodger game. I go see the Lakers. I could go to 12 concerts in one night. I could go snowboarding. I could go to the desert. I could do anything in California. And man, and then you just like, come on,
you're
man.
right. Because in Detroit, we lost 16 games straight. And they're still calling Stafford their Super Bowl champion. Just saying. So you're right. The level of fans at USC, when I went, it's what it is.
Like you just get, like, you have the opportunity to just go up there and be like, you know what? Like, it was a decision that had to be made. Leave it at that. You know what I mean? We had to make this decision.
But that only supports what I've been saying about him all along. Do I think he would be a great offensive coordinator? He slayed that. He does not possess the qualities to be a head coach of the Power 5 USC. Maybe something else in a different market. Maybe, sure. But he doesn't possess those things because you're right. I know we don't like Deion, but he's going to be like, we lost. We went out there and they whooped on our butts, and we got to get it together. Being able to take accountability and ownership, and you can see that even reflecting in his players. No accountability and ownership. That's that culture we talked about. That's that identity. You got players blaming each other on social media. So it trickles down from the top. So he's only solidifying who he is. Find his identity, Jamal.
Oh, man. Candace is putting it all together, strategically integrated.
Like, no, 100%. She's right, though. Like, you had your opportunity. This was the biggest press conference of your USC tenure to today. And then you throw that bullshit out there. Like, come on, Lincoln.
What
like,
was the feel, Rod? Like, how he's irritated? Did the press kind of feel like, oh, this is a moment for him to be like, we're going to rally it up. This was his opportunity to, like, or what was the feel?
No, I mean, it's hard to say because to the press, he's not a rah-rah guy. I mean, he's not one of those type of coaches. He's never been. He's not a guy that's going to get out and give this impassioned press conference. It's kind of just very straightforward. And this is what we're doing. This is our belief. And, you know, I obviously that rubs people the wrong way. I didn't take it like that, but everyone's entitled to their whatever they want.
But he's not straightforward, though. Like, he's feeding us a bunch of bullshit, man.
Well, just to make it clear that we will play good defense was not in reference to this team. This was like the future of USC football. So it wasn't like he was saying this is a good unit. We're just not playing to our level. It was like we have the ability to become a good defensive school. So just to make that clear, it was not saying.
And you know what? To even touch on that, I don't need you to tell me that because we were the defensive school. Like I've seen Cedric Ellis, Sean Cody, Frosty Rucker. Like I've seen the Wild Wild West gang part 2.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So you saying that like again touches on you don't understand who we are and what we are.
It's the Wild Bunch. It's the Wild Bunch.
Wild
Bunch part 2. Yeah, Wild Bunch. But no, I'm just saying, like, I know, but like, it's the depth though. Like, you have nothing in your bullpen. You have no farm system saying, oh, just look at the depth. If somebody goes down, you have nobody behind that person. If Byrd gets hurt today, we're in trouble. You have no farm system. Like, come on, man.
Maybe he should be the director of recruiting because he recruited himself off.
You know, I'll be honest with you. Ryan, I agree with you. He sort of comes across very straightforward. It's not sort of raw in any way. He's very direct. I don't know what it is, though, in these sort of moments where there's bigger press conferences. I don't know if there's like a social anxiety or he panics a little bit, but there are honesty gaps. that he has in these bigger moments. And I'm not trying to be critical. I'm just trying to understand it because, when he sort of had his opening press conference, he said, we're going to be the mecca of college football. We're going to compete for championships right away. And then when, you sort of call him on that 2 years later, he's like, well, where did this come from? It's not from me. And then even today, he was sort of like, well, again, the kind of that spin of we're 2 games from being undefeated. We had the greatest, turnaround in program history, not kind of taking into account the other side of it. But also, he said something very interesting about Alex Grinch. He said, to your point, Ryan, we can be a great defensive team. There's no reason we can't be a great defensive team in the future, and it can happen very, very quickly. And he sort of referenced Oklahoma, that when he came on, it was a weakness, and then in a matter of months, it became a strength, that the strength of Oklahoma was defense. And I went back. I mean, that never happened. Oklahoma was never a defensive team. And so I don't understand what happens sort of in these moments with him. Like, he just sort of panics and wets the bed because he's not sort of like used to attention or what. But there's a moment there where he like honesty kind of takes a vacation for a few minutes sometimes when he kind of gets nervous, and I don't know what it is. And then now when you go and ask him probably a year from now if the team is struggling defensively, he's like, I don't know where that came from. You guys cook all this stuff up. So I just wonder sometimes, like, he's very direct, but I don't know. Sometimes there's these honesty gaps, and I wonder where that comes from.
And I'm not upset about the directness. If you're directed, I'm direct. If it was me, like, it's what we had to do. It's a situation we're going. We have to move forward. Let's just get through this season, and then we'll just move on next year. Like, we're in a building process. Just like, you know what I mean? It's nothing wrong with being direct. But once you start saying we have the ability to be a good defense, win in 3 years, come on. Oh, we have a lot to play for. That's why we had to make the decision. What are you playing for? Like, let's be realistic. What are you playing for? The Vegas Bowl? You're trying to get to El Paso? Like, you're trying to get to Alamo Bowl? Like, Lincoln, stop. Don't piss on me and tell me it's raining. I'm just being honest. Like, we know it smells like piss. I don't care how hydrated you are. Like, it's warm. Like, come on, man. Like, that just threw my whole mood off. Anyway, I want to talk to you guys about BetOnline. BetOnline is the best place for you guys to go and get all your up-to-the-minute odds, game day stats, and its ability for you to make good wagers. BetOnline.ag. Use promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, and you'll get a 50-cent match bonus. BetOnline, where the game starts. Let's get off that dude, because now that. Oh man, I need to hold on. All right,
Fred's taking a swing of some beer. I'm going to take a swing of some tea here, Fred.
Yeah, go ahead.
And I'm drowning my sorrows in
Haagen-Dazs. Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
The boozer's up top and the.
All right, so here's the deal. We have to make a move, right? We got to make a move. And Ryan's been telling us to do this homework for a long time, so I hope you guys have your assignments ready. I know Jamal and Ryan they got the shit in the top of their head. They've been thinking about this since 2022, last October. So they have it ready. Who replaces Alex Grinch? Right? There's a lot of candidates out there. Jen Leonard, Ed Orgeron, those are the big names floating. Let's not make it easy and say, let's go with that guy. Those are the guys that we want. We got it. Let's take those out of the equation. They're not available. Who is the best person? Who is the best person possible you think comes in to USC and becomes a defensive coordinator? I will start with, let's go with Jamal. I know Jamal's gonna come with a good one, but I know Ryan comes with a better one. So this is Ryan's expertise here. This is where Ryan is at his best.
I don't know about that. I don't know
Jamal,
about that.
Jamal, who comes in, not Jen Leonard, not Eddie O, who comes in and replaces Alex Grinch?
Look, I'll tell you, if you want to galvanize this fan base and you want to set yourself up for success going into Big Ten play next year, I really don't think there's a better hire than DeAnton Lynn. And, if you, and as much as it sort of pains me to say it, if you're kind of the SC brass, what better way to sort of make everyone forget about what has happened the last couple of years than to poach the defensive coordinator from your crosstown rival. And so not only do you get the opportunity to completely strengthen your defense with a guy who's proven it, but then you also kind of take a needle to the crosstown rival, and you get everyone really excited again. I mean, what D'Anton Lynn has done at UCLA is nothing short of remarkable. This is a top 10 defense this year on a team that historically the last 5 years has averaged to finish 88th in the country in total defense over the last 5 years combined. And they're top 10 in every major statistical category: points, yards, sacks, you name it, yards per play, rush yards per play. He's brought in NFL-style defense, nuanced concepts, and then he's got the ability to get guys and galvanize guys in a way that I think will complement Lincoln Riley's not only offensive personality, but also stoic personality. And so I think there's some other names that are floating around right now, namely Manny Diaz. I think Dave Aranda's floating around quite a bit. And I think the one thing that I would caution about Dave Aranda, I think Lincoln Riley is sort of leaning there if I was just sort of, a betting person and using Bet Online to do so. But I think it's because Aranda has had Lincoln's number in the Big 12 the last couple of times. And Aranda at Baylor was able to be rather successful against OU in Lincoln's last few years. And I think that's something that has stood out in Lincoln's mind as someone to sort of bring in. So I think Lincoln is kind of leaning still with his Big 12 roots a little bit. And I think to Lincoln, maybe Dave Aranda might be the guy who's in the lead right now. But to me, I think the guy that actually makes all the sense in the world is D'Anton Lynn.
All right. I like that. You remember I tried to poach their AD.
Yeah.
I tried to poach their AD. So, I mean, they're doing it good. I will say this. Bruin fans, what they're doing at UCLA is really good as far as the football program. What they're doing is really good. And I don't think people understand what they have and what they're doing is exceeding expectations. So
I'll tell you, Fred, I mean, they're not to deviate. I'll take 20 seconds here. I mean, I think they're better managed than USC is. I think they've made better hires. When you look at the athletic director, when you look at the head coach, and when you look at the coordinators and the staff underneath, I think they're better managed and they've made better hires than USC has.
Yeah, definitely. All right, Ryan, I'm going to put you on the spot. You ready?
Yeah.
Who's your replacement?
Two names collegiately I like are Scott Simons over at SMU. I think they've done a lot there, and it's one of the top 20 units, I believe, and done some good things. And I also like Joe Rossi at Minnesota. Obviously, they're going to the Big Ten, so you get a guy that has a lot of knowledge within the Big Ten and brought that. I think they were 86th ranked or so when he came in, and now they've been a much, much improved unit. The name, though, that I'm curious, I'm not saying this would be the best case, but I would feel like Candice would like this name better, is Jack Del Rio. NFL guy,
geez.
Former Trojan. I'm not saying I would hire him, but it's an interesting name. That is a guy that's had only NFL experience, but we talked on our live last, like, is it something the SC should look at if going at an NFL guy because of the way college football has changed, and then you get some SC roots back. So not saying I would go for him, but that's a name that is interesting. Current DC of the Commanders, for those who don't know.
Candice, do you have anybody?
I like that. I also think that college football, the landscape has totally changed, but the landscape of Los Angeles USC football has kind of always been above par, right? So when you're in Los Angeles, the lights are on, the stars are there. That's always been. The rest of the country is just now catching up. So you're gonna all hate this one, but I wouldn't mind, seeing Mel Tucker join the crew. Knows about the Big Ten. He's a defense guy. He's rah, rah, rah. He brings a presence that his players love. They love his energy. They love his swag. They connect with him. They ride with him. And I know that's probably impossible, but his persona is something I always wish that Dan Campbell would go coach Michigan State and Tucker would coach the Lions, because he just brings that energy that NFL guys or even high-level athletes like. So I like Mel Tucker. He's not coming, but it's worth trying.
I have two guys for you. They have Southern California roots, so they understand the pressure of coaching in Southern California. They understand the pressure of coaching at USC. The first guy I'm going to tell you doesn't have any pro experience, but he has a lot of college experience. And he's doing really well where he is right now. And I think he will come and he can reconnect a lot of pop lines from Southern California and the Bay Area back to USC. He's at Louisville right now. I think Ron English is a very good choice. Ron English is experienced national championship coach. He's been around the block multiple times, dealt with multiple kids, been in the game. He knows what to do. I think Ron English is the guy that could come in and make them aggressive, because what they're doing at Louisville is really good. Make them aggressive, and they could play really good football. The second guy I have for you has already been on the coaching staff at USC, but he's not a USC guy. He's actually coaching at his alma mater. He's been a defensive coordinator. He's been in the NFL. He's coached national championships. He's coached award-winning linebackers, and he is back at his alma mater. And I think him with the NFL experience, like Ryan said, so I took that into consideration, could deal with NIL. And he's dealt with personalities before. He's coached a position group, and all 6 of the players that he coached in this position group went to the NFL, and they were all drafted. So he has the ability to deal with personalities. Jamal, if you were to guess,
Wilcox.
Nope, not Wilcox. It's not Wilcox. Anybody else want to take a guess?
Mm-hmm.
Come on, he's coaching at his alma mater right now. Ken Norton Jr.
Yeah, no, that's a good one too. Yep.
Candice was saying something. I was waiting for it on mute. I didn't. So yeah,
no,
Ken Norton Jr.
I like that.
Ken Norton Jr. Yeah,
I like the only. And Jamal, we've talked about this before. The only, not even concern, but just I guess question would be is there had to be a reason why UCLA did not promote him to DC, whether he didn't want to be in preferred B position, whatever it may be. So I wonder if he would even want to be.
Yeah, with Ken Norton Jr., he's a little bit like, and I don't want my words to get twisted here, but he's a little bit like Bieniemy. Where he's always kind of been with either Pete or he's always been with a DC. I think what Ken Norton Jr. does extremely well, Ken Norton Jr. is essentially UCLA's version of Coach O, right? I mean, he's an incredible director of recruiting, incredible energy, and he is a superior positional coach at the linebacker position. And to Fred's point, yes, he's sort of brought in, UCLA's linebackers are stacked, and he's very good at that position. Has he designed an entire defensive system before? No. And so that's kind of the only question here as to why I went with DeAnton Lynn over Ken Norton Jr. because of that gap. Now, having said that, that doesn't mean he's not capable, but then the question will become, how much does Lincoln Riley put his faith into someone who has not done the job before and is hiring based off of potential? And so that's going to be a question.
So here's the thing. And we spoke
Ryan
about
knows
this.
what I'm thinking right now.
Yeah,
Ryan, what am I thinking?
Just, he put his faith in someone that called plays and couldn't do it anyway.
At least get someone that looks good, sound good, is exciting. We'll forget about all the other stuff. Thanks, Ryan. Reading my mind.
So here's the deal. Here's the deal. And I think this is the most important factor when Lincoln Riley goes and hires his DC. And I said this yesterday. He needs to hire somebody completely opposite of him. He needs to go hire that hard ass. Like somebody that you hear and is getting on the kids. Like, it's tough on the field, but can love them up off the field. And that's a part of coaching. And a lot of coaches are able to do that. There's very few coaches that can't do that. They can't all be nice. And I don't know the staff. And so neither here nor there. Ryan, when you talk to Taylor on Thursday, tell him to call me. Anyway,
I don't know if we'll talk to him, but I'll try.
C-Ray said, let's go.
But I will say this, just like, man, like they have to have something opposite. And they also, and I mean, sorry, kids, but Taylor might fall victim to this. They got to blow up that staff. They have to get rid of it. they have to flush it. And that's the hard part about this business. Like, you can't keep the same culture there in order to succeed something new, right? And the example that I gave before was you kept Dante Williams from Todd Helton's group because he could recruit so well, but you brought this receiver coach from Oklahoma that's also supposed to be a really good recruiter, right? So now, like Jamal said, he gets in these things of he forgets what he says and he starts to lie, right? And not lie, but what do you say? He forgets to tell the truth or something like that.
No, it's honesty gaps, you know?
Honesty gaps. There you go. He has these honesty gaps, right?
Honesty gap right now. Hashtag honesty gap.
If you're bringing this excellent recruiter from Oklahoma, why are you keeping somebody from Helton's staff on your staff, right? You're bringing the bad culture in, right? And then you're bringing the same culture from Oklahoma and, like, got to flush it. He has to start all over.
Because he's not a killer. Because he's not cutthroat. Because all you're talking about is his sentimental. Like, people want to talk about me. Why am I talking football? What's my level of connection? Well, let me tell you, Lincoln Riley, you know X's and O's. You think you know recruiting. You think you know this. You think you have it together, but you're not a straight killer because you can't fire your best friend. You can't have the best of the best. And the best coaches will have better people around them to keep them accountable and keep everybody growing. But he's not capable of doing that. And for whatever reason, we thought that he could. And because USC's got deep pockets, we're like, what's $100 million? If he don't work out, we'll go get somebody else. If Michigan State has $80 million to give to somebody and we got $100 million, I don't think it's going to be too hard to figure it out. So there's another part of it.
Michigan State ain't paying that $80 million though, because they
but when those contracts first came out, I was like, $80 million in East Lansing, $100 million in Los Angeles. Let's go. The other thought of that is like, USC, what's $100 million to you? Let's keep it 100.
So
you done rented the Coliseum for the next 79 years. So,
but Candace, the one point there is, and this is sort of related to our earlier point, the pockets go deep when you keep winning, right? And so it's the same 7 or 8 boosters that are putting up this money because there's no new boosters. Because when you look at the age of the boosters, they're older. Yeah. They're much, much older. And the composition of the university is changing. The university is getting much more diverse in terms of race, ethnicity, socioeconomic demographics. There's also, there has not been that level of success in the NFL the last decade or so where guys have made it, done okay. There hasn't been the guys that have made the $100 million, the $200 million in the NFL. So I get what you're saying, but this is not the USC of the 70s, 80s, and 90s where it was sort of university of spoiled children to the max, where, you know, it was all a bunch of rich kids who were going to the school and it was sort of endless pockets. This is not quite the same sort of economic conditions at USC. And so we have to be careful there. USC has the most money of, I'll put it this way, USC sort of has the most money of any West Coast school that cares about football, okay? Because it doesn't have the most money of any West Coast school. That's Stanford by a lot. But they have the most money of the schools that care about football, but the demographics are changing. So they can't just expect to throw more money than everybody else, because to your earlier point, look, $80 million in East Lansing, purchasing power-wise, is a hell of a lot more money than $100 million in LA. You know, so you have to sort of take that into consideration as well. So I'm not saying USC is begging for resources by any stretch of the imagination, but this notion that they can just out like New York Yankees, spend Dallas Cowboys, outspend everybody else, I don't think is true anymore.
Those are fantastic points, and thank you for bringing me back to reality. Could you send me some of your masala cheat? I'm gonna need some chai. I'm gonna need some chai because yours then is here and mine is here. So yeah. So does that make it difficult for us? It's not like, you know, how a school can fire a coach. Who cares what we're going to buy him out? We bring in someone new. So does that mean we have to hold on to Riley because financially,
at least for 3 more years?
Yeah, I mean, you know, when you're 10 years, $100 million, and you're only year 2, I mean, you know, that's a very sizable buyout.
Even in his contract, like, you know, you get incentives for the Bulls.
Yeah. The buyout number goes down in time, but you're still, that buyout number right now is still at 50, 60 million. And so think about that. You got to go pay 50, 60 million for him not to coach your team. Then you got to pay another 50, 60, 70, 80 million for a guy that will coach your team. Then you got to go pay another
The
10,
staff.
12, 15 million to the defensive coordinator that will coach your team. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money for anybody.
Riley's on the hook for the next
outside
3
of
years.
the SEC and outside of Michigan and Ohio State, I don't know who can kind of just come up with that money blind. You know, I mean, you look at a school.
Stanford can totally have him. They can afford to buy him. And we'll put it together. We don't have a
Stanford's more focused on like curing cancer and stuff, you know.
Get all your teammates because y'all can all co-coach each position, and I guarantee you the homies will take a fraction of the money. And
you're seeing a
50K.
You're seeing a similar situation here, Candace, at Texas A&M. Look, I mean, Texas A&M has underperformed so significantly the last few years, but they paid Jimbo $75 million over 10 years. And so that buyout number is so high that they just kind of have to eat it. And you're stuck with it. Look, USC loses next week and they close the season. They're probably, 9-4, something like that. I mean, you're looking at Texas A&M is winning 6 games, 7 games. Sometimes they might not even be bowl eligible. And Texas A&M is just sort of sitting there and eating it because just the financial economics don't close to be able to fire Jimbo and go get a really good coach. So
what you're
that's
saying
why it's
is
really important to be smart about who you bring in here. And, you know, Fred, I love the Ron English take. You know, when I look at that Louisville-Notre Dame game against Sam Hartman, who's an NFL quality quarterback. Okay, Sam Hartman's going to get drafted this year. And you look at what Louisville did to Sam Hartman, it looked very similar to what Marcus Freeman did to Caleb in that Notre Dame game. You put those two films, you know, you go split screen and watch those two games at the same time, those look like the same game. And so I think Ron English is a great mind. I think Leonard really seems like head and shoulders the guy in terms of like understanding the Big Ten, putting great defenses together. And then I think DeAnton is the wild card. Ryan, where I struggle a little bit with Del Rio, it's sort of like Del Rio and Fisher always come up whenever there's a new job, right? Like, who's going to replace Pete in 09? Jack Del Rio. Who's going to replace Kiffin in 13? Jack Del Rio. Who's going to replace Sark in 15? Jack Del Rio. Who's going to replace Helton in 2021? Jack Del Rio. You know, so I'm sort of it's been such a recycled take for the better part of a decade that I think it's sort of time to move on from Jack Del Rio. And I really think this is an opportunity where you've got very few really good ones. Leonard seems like the grand slam, and then Lynn. I think after that, I think there's questions. I love Ryan's take on some of the Big Ten guys. I worry about some of these Big Ten guys, though, that are not Michigan, Ohio State, or Penn State, because they just kind of beat up on each other and they don't really win any big games. And the quality of depth in the Big Ten is so low. Like after Penn State, like that conference just falls off a cliff so much that it's really hard to tell if anyone is really any good. And so you're kind of rolling the dice there a little bit.
And it's really easy to play good defense against Iowa. So this coordinators probably look a lot better when you're going up against the Nebraska offense, Iowa offense, Rutgers offense. Makes your defense look a lot better.
So I think it's just, there's a few gems out there, and I think Lincoln's got to get one of these gems. Otherwise, it's going to feel like a miss.
I know a wild card that we could go with. And, I mean, it's not true. Like it's not. He doesn't have D1 experience, but I mean, he could get it going. He knows the SC culture. He knows the SC culture. He can call a pretty good game.
I am fixing ballot boxes if that's the choice. I am down for it. I'm gonna be like Trump and his crew, making sure by any means necessary.
By any means necessary. No, right, but I have a question for you, Candace. Are you angry just waving around a blade right now? Because that definitely looks like a box cutter in your hand.
Oh no, it's my daughter's phone. Oh. I'll just be honest. Like I like Rockwood SC deeper. Like Al, like you played football there. But right. Like, Jamal, you have me really thinking like it's a lot of my identity. I left Ann Arbor, Michigan when I was 17, walking away from the big house, walking away from the Big Ten. People were like, you won't make it in California. No one ever. I didn't know what to expect. I mean, it was a whole foreign world. And it's where like I grew. I mean, 17, I grew up there. You know what I mean? And my identity, USC, South Central Los Angeles, like it just became me. And it's really hard to watch because as football has like ingrained itself in my life, I'm confused because I could have never imagined. And even with the solutions that are being placed in front of me, I just feel like I got to check the box. I got to settle. So when I hear you say that I'm stuck with Riley, that's kind of like being in an unhealthy relationship. I just got to stay with you so I don't got to pay you alimony.
Well, you got it. We're stuck with him.
You're sleeping on the couch. I'm sleeping on my purple mattress. We'll go out to public parties. We'll smile together. We'll take pictures together. When we get back to their crib, like we're in 2 different bedrooms.
Yeah, so we're stuck with him for at least 3 years.
We have like the tape down the middle of our room, and you have a mini fridge. Like that's how I feel. It's just in my feelings right now.
We're stuck with him for at least 3 years. We have him for at least 3, right? So maybe
unless LeBron James comes in and wants to drop that $1 billion that he's making.
No.
Well, I mean, hopefully, hopefully Bronny's health is first and foremost, of course. But hopefully Bronny gets some games at SC. Kyrie Irving played 11 games at Duke, and you get the sense that Bronny is going to be about 11 games at SC before he goes pro.
Yeah. So another name that I have for you guys, and this is really a long shot, and I don't know if they'll be interested, but he has his players playing really good, and they're not even that great of a program, but they're playing pretty better this year. I like Brad White, and that's the DC at Kentucky. I think Brad White will be a good one too. And if he brings Mark Stoops' energy to USC, I think that's like the yin and yang that, because Mark Stoops is a firecracker. He's completely opposite of his brother. Like Mark Stoops, he actually had Arizona pretty decent for a little bit. But
and Fred, I'll take 5 seconds to just cut you off here because it's the circle of life here with the Lion King, because Lincoln Riley fired Mark Stoops at OU to bring Alex Grinch. So that might not work, life, my friend.
that may not work. Then never mind. Then.
So wait, I got a question. Maybe you guys can answer, because we talked about bringing in like maybe a high profile guy, bringing that energy, right? But there's a part of me that if you bring in, when you're talking about Kentucky and you're talking about Louisville, and if they're even in conversations, Georgia Tech, maybe, right? We're talking about in conversations, USC. Are these guys just like, this is my chance? I am sleeping in Heritage Hall. I will sleep on these stairs. I will learn these plays. I will follow these guys home. Like if a guy that might not be as, not saying qualified as we say, but like high profile, do we give somebody like this a chance because we know that they're just so happy to be at USC?
I think for Ron English, he'll be that way. Ron English is a Southern California kid. He grew up in Southern California. He went to Mount Sac. He played at Cal. Yeah, he went to Ganesha. Like, he's a Southern California kid. Like, this is legit an opportunity for him to play in front of his – not play, but to coach in front of his family. You know what I mean? Like, he will – I think he will take this opportunity and make the most of it. Like, absolutely. It's not – you know what I mean? Like, he will be proud. He would probably be proud to be a Trojan, right? I think
I would take someone like that has no roots, that is like, I want to be part of this. Like, I want to be down.
And then, like, the same thing with Ken Norton. I think Ken Norton,
I think that's just and I'm not defending him, but I think that's why Dante Williams was kept around the staff, because he like bleeds SC. He didn't go here, but he's an LA kid. He has a heartbeat on the LA recruiting trail. I'm not defending that he can do stuff differently, but I think that was the one kind of SC interlock of keeping him on the staff, because he was a guy that, like to your point, Candace, like believed in this school, believed in this city, and all that stuff. So I think there is some importance to that on the staff. Not necessarily it has to be the DC, but definitely in the staff, there's that blend that you can find, whether it's a Dante or whether it's someone else that has that kind of emotional attachment.
Right, but
Candace, it's such an interesting point, because I've thought about a lot of what you said over the last couple of days of you want the person to bleed SC, to be an SC guy, or a girl or whatever the case may be, but someone who bleeds SC. And I think what's been really interesting is I think the sanctions really hurt. And why they hurt was not because of the on-field performance, but it's because how Pete had to disassociate with USC. And when you even talk to Pete Carroll today, right, and say, remember a little while ago they asked him about the coaching search at USC when he was with the Seahawks. And he says, man, I'm so far removed from that. Like, I don't know what's going on. You got to go ask them. He's removed himself so much from USC that now even his lineage, like, Kiffin now is starting to build a legacy at Ole Miss. Sark is, on his third, fourth job. If Texas makes the college football playoff this year, Sark's going to be known more as a Texas guy than a USC guy. Coach O won a national championship now at LSU. Obviously, he bleeds USC, but he's kind of coming to the end of his career. And then prior to Pete, it was Paul Hackett and, John Robinson and all of these guys that, are now much older. And so there is kind of a gap here. What's interesting is that there's a gap as to who kind of an SC guy really is. Now, you can go younger. You can go Taylor Mays. You can go Alfred Rowe. You can go Sua Cravens. You can go all of these guys that clearly bleed SC. And with the exception of Alfred, who knows what he's talking about, then you're going to have to kind of go with the growing pains and say, you know what, this is going to be a more longer-term plan. I want these guys to kind of grow into these roles. And I'm not going off of 2-year results, 3-year results. I want them here for a decade, 15 years. I want this to be long-term, build a dynasty brick by brick, but based on who USC's identity really is. And you can do that. And I actually think that's probably the right move, frankly. But that takes a lot of courage. That takes a lot of leadership to be able to take those arrows and take those stones early to then get the dividends later. But if you're going with these sort of microwave approaches of, hey, we got to win in a couple of years, then you're stuck with having to hire these guys from the outside and that don't really understand USC, that are just here to kind of do a job. They're the hired guns. They're like LeBron going to Miami or Kevin Durant going to Golden State. You're kind of playing that game. Lincoln Riley's kind of that. Caleb Williams is kind of that, And so this is sort of the chicken and the egg. Do you go kind of the LeBron Miami strategy, or do you go with the guys that truly lead SC but who are a little bit younger and have to go more long term? And that's the question. And that's the question for the president. That's the question for the athletic director. That's the question for all the alumni and the boosters. What do you really want? Do you want the instant gratification, but every couple of years you're going to have to rebuild this thing because the foundation isn't strong? Or do you want to build a foundation that can sustain over many, many years, but that involves having a little bit of patience up front and taking some arrows?
I know. I just thought of somebody great. But they're already at a big university, but the admissions is really hard to get in. At SC, they could get him in. And he has head coaching experience and a very good track record. I think if they could work it out and bring in Al Golden, that's also a good name that they could bring in. I think Al Golden's also a good one, but they'll have to steal him from Notre Dame.
We need a scandal because then that gets us off the hook with Riley. So what you're telling, and I'm not going to throw
Is that what I said?
We need a scandal.
I do not support this message.
I'm not saying
that's a good way to end it. That's a good way to end it, Al. I think that's a good way to end it.
I was just about to say that, like, you guys got anything else? I think we put a lot of DCs out there. We got Jamal going. It's good when Jamal gets going. That's the undergrad in Jamal. He's like, man, they took me for $100K over 4 years. We need to get this back right. You know what I mean? Like,
100K, you got a good discount.
Hey, listen, they didn't lose a home game my 4 years at SC, right? I mean, and so that's
neither did Long Beach State.
That
we didn't have a football team. Undefeated since '91.
That right there, Jamal, is where we need to get back to. And I don't think all right, so a lot of people were bashing me yesterday, like, you're too excited to see somebody lose their job. When you're not doing what you're supposed to do, any of us, right? We walk into our job tomorrow and we don't do what we're supposed to do. And we constantly don't do what we're supposed to do. We're fired, right? And the people we work with are happy that you're gone. I think I'm trying to figure out, and you guys translate this for me. Just translate it for me so we don't make anybody upset. I think the average person does not understand. The average fan who did not go to USC does not understand the pride and tradition and heritage that the three of us had from going to USC, right? And we understand that it's on the cusp of being gone and us just being an average university, and we're turning back into, way back when USC used to be good, and we're trying our hardest to prevent that. So when I get on here and I celebrate that they're taking that, I don't know if it was Folt, I don't know if it was Candace's best friend Jen, but they've make Lincoln Riley make that decision yesterday. That shows that they want to be a championship program again. They still have ways to go, but that shows it. How many times I've said, we're just going to be the Penn State of the West. And if that's okay, that's okay. We'll accept it for now, but it won't last long, and then they'll have to remove Riley. But if you haven't eaten in EVK, right? If you haven't been to Doheny, right? If you haven't walked down Truesdale Parkway, you know what I mean? If you haven't been to, what's the door next to the pool?
You haven't been to Traddy's?
Traddy's, if you know what I mean? If you haven't used your discretion to buy a drink at Traddy's, right? If you haven't been in the Lions Center, you know what I mean? Like,
hey, I still have my first bank account, USC Credit Union.
Right.
Boy,
like,
they're like, what?
Like, so there's things like, and like when you walk on that campus, it's a special feeling. USC is a special place for special people. And say, if there's a standard that is upheld, and the standard was being lost, and they were okay with the standard being lost, and we were not accepting the standard being lost. So when you see a move like that is upholding the standard,
amen,
you do nothing but celebrate.
Amen.
Right? You have to celebrate something like that because we understand the standard. I'll give you an example. My 10-year-old says he wants to go to SC. He's not the greatest athlete, and it's okay. But he's very, very smart. He's an extremely smart kid, like way smarter than I am. And I tell him that all the time. But I have to tell him, like, in order for you to go to SC, you have to work harder than every single other person because that person's working just as hard to go to USC, right? And it's just the hard work and the dedication. And when people say you're a Bruin for 4 years and you're Trojan for life, that is a true thing. Like,
Al,
it is a honest thing.
Al, say it again.
That's an honest thing. So, like,
these shots at UCLA, my goodness.
But no,
I'm just saying, like,
I want to touch on that because
all right, we're going to touch on that, and we're going to wrap up. It's time to go.
Eons and eons ago, I was highly recruited. There was not one coach that did not come to my house when coaches did that. And when I say you name the university, they came, they sat on my couch, they recruited me old
school. Chattanooga.
Huh?
UT Chattanooga.
Nashville. UT Nashville. Sorry, let me get rid of this. I say that to say I went from South Carolina. I went to Texas. I went to, you name it, from Syracuse to Boston College, all the way to Michigan didn't recruit me. UCLA didn't recruit me. See how that worked out. Anyway, I say that to say I didn't just.
This comes from a little bit. Now we've unlocked the code.
Did Long Beach State?
There it is.
Did Long Beach State recruit you?
Long Beach State, they might have. I'm saying this to say I went to geographically and regionally. I've been to every major school, and when I went to USC, when they said you are a Trojan for life, I was like, what does that even mean? I'm 17 years old. Like, life is 18. I was like seeing people's buildings name and meeting those people. I was thinking, like, anywhere in the world you go, you'll get a job anywhere. And I was just like, if I get hurt and can't go anywhere else, I'll still have a future at USC. And that's when I tell my athletes. And now I'm expanding them to be like, you don't have to go to just a Power 5. We can go to HBCU. I'm only saying all that to say is I'm not biased because I just went to USC. I was highly recruited by all the other schools, the Georgias, the Mizzous, the Texas. I was recruited by them. And I chose USC for our legacy, for exclusivity, and for the special feeling. And that's that. So when people say, it could just be, no, it's not. I knew when I walked on that campus that it was different than the other 325 division schools that there is in the NCAA.
And here's the catch. And Ryan, you know this now. USC is what, 2 times smaller than Long Beach State? Probably.
Like student population wise?
No, just landmass wise.
It's actually like the same size as Long Beach State, but it's definitely way smaller than like UCLA, for example.
It's 2.5 square miles?
Something like that. It's 4 corners.
I think SC's 226 acres. And
Long Beach is like 3.
Thank you, Jamal.
I think.
He's serving.
I think UCLA's 419 acres, something like that.
Dang.
Yeah, but like when you think about it, USC is Figueroa, Exposition, Vermont, and King. That's USC.
Yeah.
And
You know what I
I've
mean?
I've been robbed on one of those corners. I've been robbed.
That's USC, right? And so, like when you go in through that Vermont entrance, you know what I mean? When you go in on that Vermont entrance on your first day orientation, you know, right then and there, like and I get why some people and some old timers are like, don't add anything to the campus and this and that, because like you want to keep that you know what I mean? But now you got to keep up, and I get it. So I'm on both sides, but USC is a standard. Like it's a standard, and we understand the standard, right? So that's why we celebrated yesterday. That's why we expect so much. That's why Jamal's always on our ass about, well, hold on. This is what you need to do, right? That's why Candace is the way she is. Ryan is an honorary Trojan. That's why Ryan is the way he is about USC. You know what I mean? Like he knows how to play. He plays politician really well, right?
Yeah.
He plays politician really well.
Yeah, I went to a lot of parties at USC, you know.
You know what I mean? He knows how to keep you guys
110.
happy. But we love our university and we love our school and we understand what it takes to go there.
Al, I'm
trying to wrap up.
Recently, USC loved us back. You don't get that feeling from other places.
That's a different conversation for another day. We'll talk about that later. But yeah. But with that being said, we love SC. They're setting the standard.
Doesn't this feel like therapy a little bit? Like on today's show, this is why we love USC. On the next show, it's why USC doesn't love us back. And on the show after that, it's why this is a toxic relationship. You know?
But and all said and being done, as far as therapy, you guys, we also love our fans too. We love you. We appreciate you for everything you do. Remember, the goal is to put that gold plaque next to that mirror right behind Ryan. So tell a friend, tell them, tell 2 friends, keep subscribing, keep adding on. Candace, what do you drink every morning?
Cut your grocery bill and don't get sick. Get AG1. Boom.
Drink AG1. drinkag1.com/salute to Troy. You get 5 free travel packs a year worth of vitamin D. You guys already saw the fight. I got the green screen. Look at that. Oh man, I love this green screen. Go get you a Stone IPA Fight On Pale Ale. And also Underdog Fantasy. Go play your picks. You get between 2 to 4 picks. You get to pick any variety of games. Ryan, did you even know they have like video game competitions on there? You can vote for video games.
No,
like
they got everything.
Yeah, they have everything.
I lost a lot of money tonight thanks to our friend Brittany, so a little disappointed about that.
Your friend Brittany?
Our friend Brittany Betts, you know.
I'll talk shit to her right now.
Yeah.
Say you owe Ryan some money. No, anyway, but yeah. So go to Underdog Fantasy. You can go on the website, underdogfantasy.com, or download the app out of the Apple Play Store or the Google Play Store, the Apple app, whatever they call it. So, hey, I appreciate you guys. Thursday, we'll have a special guest. All you guys who tune in for Sunday, my brother will be here. That's the guy who always puts the duck and always talks about Oregon. He's the Oregon grad. Here's a little tidbit. We'll give you a cliffhanger. Rose Bowl MVP against Terrell Pryor. He also played in the national championship against Cam Newton on that Oregon team. So this one will be fun. He talks a lot of shit.
Oh,
he doesn't.
Love it.
He doesn't
love
talk.
It.
He doesn't talk very loud, but he talks a lot of shit. So we're gonna get a lot. We're gonna get a lot of shit.
He's got the right to this year.
He's got the right to. So I'm gonna have my mommy sign up for this game on Saturday.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm wearing all beach gear. I'm just staying UN over here.
Also, stay tuned. Next week, me and Jamal will be together in person. I guarantee. I made that guarantee.
Hey,
Jamal.
There we go.
I'm coming to see you next week. The Victory Vale show is going to be on next week, right, Ryan? Did I say it right? Did I not mess it up? Yeah. Okay. I don't want you to say. What's the word, Jamal? Let me think about it.
Let me think about it. Let me think about it. I gotta, let me just.
That's because you wanted to do it live on Halloween when I have a daughter, so that was why they let me.
No, I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to do it live. I wanted to record the show, but we could have did it Wednesday. Like I was saying, let's get it going. But anyway, me and Jamal will be in person. Ryan, are you coming to visit us or not?
That's the plan. That's the
all right.
Oh, that's a variation of let me think about it. That's a variation.
Let me think about it.
Yeah. Okay. But for sure, me and Jamal will be together in person. I'm coming to see you, Jamal.
Love it, my friend. Always welcome.
Appreciate you guys. See you guys Thursday. It's going to be fun. We got Oregon coming up, but it's on, like I said, Pac-12 After Dark. A lot of freaky stuff happened. This has been the Bet Online Salute to Troy podcast. Thank you for staying with us this long. We always appreciate you. You know how it goes. Look at that. I don't even have to try to find my fingers anymore. Live free. Fight on. See you guys.